welcome to our life energy update for the 18th till 24th of August. My name is Bryndis here from transCODES, and today from the Sunshine State, Florida. Hope you all survived last week. It was a bit intense, although less intense than the weeks before, so I hope you had time for reflection. Let's reflect a little bit. We always start our energy report with looking back, and the reason for that is that, of course, the energy updates can't really be divided into weeks. What we do have, though, and this is something that I have started last week, is a barometer, an energetic barometer for energetically sensitives and empaths. And last week I said it's going to slow down a little bit, it's going to get less intense, and it was less intense. And it led a lot of us to contemplating about sort of what was going on here emotionally and what happens to us when we get out of this acute drama. Okay, so there was a lot of acute drama the weeks before, and it tired us out. All right, so last week was recovery week. Last week was looking at things, and if you have been dealing with physical issues, then maybe last week was a week where you decided to do something about it. Okay, so this is why reflection is so important. All right, it's not enough to just get through whatever the challenge is. We also need to learn how to learn from it and how to grow from it. I have a 3-year-old son, and I always say you can only grow if you try something new. And this is kind of like the mantra for next week. So next week we're looking at, of course, again, amplified energies. The solar eclipse here in the United States is responsible for a lot of predictions, for a lot of sort of this is going to be doomsday. But be assured it's actually not the eclipse. If anything, I mean, we are under the influence of eclipse energies, and we have been and we will be. But from the energetic point of view, it seems a bit more critical the 2-3 weeks after the eclipse. So for next week, really, as far as the actual or factual happenings that are going on, I think we will just go and should enjoy a cool natural phenomenon, and we should maybe remember this, take our kids with it. It's happening in the middle of the day, so I would recommend to enjoy the eclipse as something memorable, and use it for reflection, use it for looking inward and sort of contemplating about what the things are that are really, really important to you. So the mantra for next week is kind of like energy management. It's like, how can we utilize all these energies, and how can we get better through some of those times where there's a lot of outer bombardment going on. And for many of us, this also means that we have to look at what we really love, what we really are passionate about, and that's something that is probably the biggest healing resonance that we can work with for next week, and that is to go within and to find out what can really make us going, what makes our juices flowing, what drives us. Many of us have made so many compromises in our lives that we've forgotten about it. And I've recommended last week to look back at pictures of yourself when you were younger, and to connect with this part in you that was sort of full of this expectance, you know, of this expectancy, what your life is going to bring, and that you're going to do cool things and so forth. And that's something I would recommend all of you to do, to go in and feel out, you know, what is it really that drives me? When people talk to me about manifestation, they often can't answer that question. And when it comes to like, say, finding the right job or finding the right circumstances, it's really, really important that you know what drives you. All right, here is Third Eye. You live in Salem, Oregon, and I'm just gonna try and not explode. I know, the crowds. Okay, thank you for that keyword. I've already said this last week, or actually since 2 weeks, avoiding crowds, okay? So even though, you know, there's a lot of like, and especially in certain places here in the United States, there's a lot of rah-rah about the solar eclipse. When I said enjoy it, you know, go to a quiet place, go to a place maybe where you can enjoy silence and meditate a little bit. At transCODES, actually, we're going to have a free energy session on Monday, the 21st of August, right after the eclipse. It's still going on at this time, but the peak of the energies is, or the peak of the rah-rah, say, will be gone. It's our Connect with Your True Self transmission Monday at 3 p.m. here, Denver time. So please check this out. Don't miss it. It's going to be really, really cool because we just got out of this like surge of energy, and it's going to be a great opportunity to connect with our passion, to connect with what drives us. So what has been the problem in the last week, though, I want to come back to this because energy management is not something that everybody is familiar with. Energy management means know your energies and know what can trigger you and know what can exhaust you, what can drain you, what can, not just what drives you, but also what has the opposite effect, what can contract your energy. And here's something, a really sort of a practical energy tip, okay? There's 5 stages to energy management. And in the recorded video here, you'll see a chart here now that will help you to interpret this a little better. And I recommend to read the written report that comes with these live energy updates because I'm explaining it and I have a lot of charts and so forth. It's very educational. Energy management is understanding where our energy goes when something on the outside happens, okay? And it helps us to identify what state we're in. And as most of you know, we're energy workers here at transCODES. We've created really elaborate charts that are measurable for us as well, to help people to identify where the energy goes. Because when you know where your energy is, that's when you can actually identify whether, you know, whether it even makes sense to make a decision, or why you can't make a decision right now, or why the options that are appearing to you all seem so limited, okay? There's ways when you understand where your energy goes to change that, okay? To have a choice. And so the first step is identifying where you're at. The second step is to really go into acceptance, to accept that, okay, this is where my energy is. Okay, I'm in my shadow, or I'm in my inner child, or I'm in anger right now, or I'm in fear. There's a power in admitting and accepting where you're at, and that usually helps to transcend a lot of the especially the outer bombardment. And then as a third step, I recommend everyone to learn how to center your energy really quick. And for this, as many of you know, I recommend the breathing technique, because breathing is something that you can do anywhere you are, and you don't have to make sounds. I recommend the I am breathing technique. It does have sound in it, but you can leave that out. You don't have to use your voice. You just learn how to center your energy with your breathing in your heart center here. So by breathing in, not in your lungs, but into your center. Okay, here's a great question. Is it possible for us to leak out our energy? There's times I'm just doing my thing, and suddenly, and in action, it will just make me feel drained in a moment, and I try to breathe my energy back, but yeah, but it's, I can't read the rest of the question, but I suppose you referring to how difficult this is. Yes, this is actually a very good way to discern whether energies are coming in from the outside or whether it's actually yours. Last week I talked about the inner connection here. So things that come in from the outside can really only latch on if we have something to latch on to. But it's often very difficult to identify what is going on. You know, like you said, you're doing your own thing and then all of a sudden you feel very drained. Typical situations are things like going to the grocery store, sitting at a coffee shop, and as you're sitting there and going about your own business, the composition has changed in the coffee shop, and all of a sudden things will become draining for you or even attacking. So yes, it's not that you're leaking energy, it's that you have not had enough centering and enough balance to catch it fast enough before it could actually do something with your energy. So the whole idea of energy management is that you catch something before it can affect your energy. But for this matter, like I said earlier, it's really important to know your own energy really well. You have to know what you feel like when you are in your balanced, in your centered state. And for that, you're going to have to work with your energy a little bit. You may need guides. You may need to read books, all right, that help you to identify where you're at. So in my articles, I give away a lot of this knowledge and how you can practice that, all right? But the idea is correct, but it's not really that you're leaking. It's just that your system is not strong enough to withstand what is coming in from the outside, and that's why centering and balancing is so important. So after you've identified where you're at, after you've admitted to yourself that you are, you know, in whatever state, in a drained state, in a tired state, in a sad state, and you centered yourself, that's when you can shift your energy. And this is probably the most important part about energy management, learning how to shift your energy. And sometimes it's little things, you know, like say, take the example from the coffee shop. You know, sometimes you just have to get up and walk out, or you go and seek a different place within the coffee shop, or you know, in a supermarket, you go only into certain areas, or you try to avoid places that you already know that make you feel drained. So there are places, there are items, there are particular people that can make us more drained. And that's a good sign that your energy is responding to an outer energy, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily the other person's fault. All right, there can be resonances there, like say, this person just went through something that, you know, where you have an experience in the past that resonates, and it brings that up in you. So please don't be judgmental here about other people. Most people have no clue what is going on, and they have no clue about their subtle energies and how they interact. Okay, we are energetically sensitives here, and that means we are constantly under the effects of outer energies. But most of us don't know yet for sure whether it's ours or outer, or what this all means, and that's why it's so important to talk about these things. That's the purpose of these energy updates. I'm trying to give you a heads up so that you understand that when you're going through something, it's not just you, you're not alone. So please use this the commentary here to ask questions. I answer all questions long after the update actually happened. So yeah, so energy management. So once you shifted your energy, and this is now probably the most important part, you will learn that you actually have a choice. You have a choice. When you feel like in this really deep, dark place within yourself, or even just completely drained and exhausted, and I'll talk about this here in a minute, because this happened last week, you still have a choice. You can still shift your energy. The reason why things are so draining is because they come like sort of a downward spiral. Then they trigger all these unresolved inner things in us and pull us further down. And that makes it so difficult for us to see a way out, or to to even feel like we have an option. And that's why it's so important to practice this, literally, like physical practice. We have to practice how to shift our energy, how to identify, how to accept, how to center ourselves, how to shift our energy, and then, of course, how to implement it. So the implementation part is the last part. And without these other 4 steps, it's very difficult to change. So whether or not you're under the influence of an outer energy, you need to know where your energy goes, because depending on where your energy is, this is the reality that you're experiencing. And this also has to do with, or this also affects your physical. In other words, we experience our physical and our physical symptoms based on how we use them, how what we hold in mind. Okay, and that's why you know, in these weeks of extreme outer bombardment, it's really important that you know your energy and that you learn, you know, the different options that you have. All right. So yes, this has to do with Virgo energies, and I will answer this. Thank you. Yes, thank you for confirming that it helps you, that you're not alone. Diana, does the current Mercury retrograde magnify the draining process? I'm a Virgo, and right now I'm a mess. I'm not an astrologer, but I do use constellations and so forth to understand some of the things that I'm experiencing. So I work with energetically sensitives and visionaries from all over the world, and I see the symptoms mostly like a week or 2 ahead of time. And then I look up what are certain constellations. So last week I talked about retrograde energies. And yes, as a Virgo, there's a lot of influences from Virgo and Leo right now. So as a Virgo, you will also feel this as particularly draining or as particularly uplifting. Some of your sort of challenges is the implementation. So when you already know that you're doing things that are not good for you, when you already know that you're making compromises, that you're incongruent in certain areas of your life, then you have to change this. A retrograde is a place where we are asked to go into deeper reflection. Is your relationship really true to you? Or are you just hanging on to a fantasy of how you want your relationship to be? Are you hanging on to an ideal? All right, this is not just for Virgos, but for you in particular. All right, hope this helped. Yeah, so energy management is the theme here for next week, and I want to briefly reflect on some of the physical stuff that we are experiencing here. By the way, if anyone is listening and had a little bit of a breakdown last week, maybe in conjunction with addictions, this is a really good time now to start rehab. It's a really good time. They say in Mercury retrogrades, it's better not to sign contracts or to do things that have a long-term effect, but it's a good time to come up with new resolutions and to really move into implementation. There is a wonderful courageous energy right now, and you know, if you take your mind off all the doomsayer kind of stuff right now, then you will find out that there's actually a cool energy that wants to come in. All right, so allow this, you know, open yourself up for this, and use energy management techniques, or learn energy management techniques that can help you to better deal with outer things. Physically, the way this has been affecting us in the last weeks, we talked about this a lot. Many of us had like head stuff, you know, eyes, ears, sinuses, temples, and just like terrible migraines. This will continue, but more so in the neck, more so here in this place where our spine meets the skull. This is the part that connects with our limbic system, and therefore also with our autonomous nervous system. So this week The biggest challenge is coming in through your nervous system, through your digestive tract, and also some of the aspects that have to do with how well your immune system works. And I've talked to this about. I've talked to our people in the self-healing community that we have at transCODES about this already, and I'll add this to the written report. The connection between the neurotransmitter that we have, oxytocin, and what's linked to that, some of the endorphins that make us feel good, and adrenaline, and how adrenaline, when we're in a constant state of stress, how this not only suppresses our immune system, which is what a lot of people are currently experiencing, a lowered immune system, and not just a physical, also an etheric, lowered or decreased etheric immune system, but also how it affects our entire biochemistry. And the only thing really that I can recommend this week, besides doing some of this inner work, such as really learning to discern things like shadow and inner child, and what these states, these different states, these fears of the future, the pain, the memory of the past, and our judgment about all this, what this really does to us. It is to really work with our immune system, to sleep more, to meditate, to calm your nerves down. When your nerves don't work well, your digestive system doesn't work well, your immune system shuts down. All right, so please take more rest this week, okay? And try to avoid really crowded places, because there is more bombardment. Just because 90% of the people out there are not aware of energetic interaction doesn't mean it's not there, okay? And you can feel it. And just because you can't describe it maybe in a academic way, or you think like your words are not sufficient for this, doesn't mean it's not real, all right? We work with this here for 10 years. We help people to read their energies, other people's energies, how to work with them, how to shift, and so forth. So I don't know if you're hearing this. We have like a big thunderstorm coming out here, so I hope it's not too loud in the recording. So take care of your immune system next week, and really try to understand that what these corrective energies really doing for us is that they're helping us to grow. Just like how I introduced this to my 3-year-old. You know, you can only grow if you try new things, and every time you try something, you learn something, and that is what makes you grow. So for most of us here who are afraid of maybe the financial system collapsing and so forth, well, think about it. Is it really that bad? You know, we never really ask ourselves this. Our ego, of course, goes in overdrive because it wants everything to stay the same. But is it really that bad if we have some changes here, especially in the United States? If we are forced to build new infrastructure, if we are forced to go within and find out as a collective here what drives us, what our true strengths are? So one of the mantras for this week was just because we can doesn't mean we have to. And this has a lot to do with priorities. So for this coming week, 18th to 24th of August, if you get through it without the world going under, you will most likely feel things in your third chakra, to your solar plexus, yes, also most likely heart pain, and in your fifth chakra, more so in your jaw and ear and neck area. Okay, the neck area that connects to our autonomous nervous system is being bombarded, and yes, there are outside energies at work. There's manipulation and deception at work, and this is the theme for this week: the Kingslayer. It's the treacherous the treacherous energy of someone whom we trust that will show its true nature. And in order to deal with this better, it's good to know your own shadow and your own sort of Kingslayer in you, right? The energetic barometer for energetically sensitives and empaths for this week is on red, simply because the energies are so intensified. That's why we have to be really careful and hope that we all get through this week without more irrationality and acting out of a lot of people. I explained this last time. So my tip for you, energy management and take care of your immune system. And if you just feel drained, then get out of this downward spiral, get out of this adrenal fatigue that has been going on up and down since the beginning of the week. Help your immune system to calm down. Yeah, so this concludes the live update for this coming week. If you have any more questions, please ask them here in the comments, in the text, all right? So as you know, I'll answer them, and there will be a written energy report with charts and articles. I'm going to talk about the connection, the neurotransmitter connection between oxytocin and adrenaline. I'm also going to talk about our limbic system, our autonomous nervous system, and adrenal fatigue. This is something that I'm observing a lot this week. All right, and until the written report, remember, these times are times where we can connect with our true talents, with our true nature, okay? And the things that really mean something to us, even if it means to let go of those things that we no longer need. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Like us here on Facebook and on YouTube. Come to my website, or even participate in our sessions. We have a free Connect with True Self on Monday, on the day of the eclipse. That's free, so please come. Looking forward to working with you. Bye-bye.